Hello everyone, it's Finance Car Guy. You might be wondering, you're not in a car right now, what exactly is going on? Well, I'm going to get to that at the end of this video because I really want to get to today's core idea, which is what are some of the priorities, responsibilities, or mindsets that you have to adopt as someone making under $60,000 a year? Now, there are different income brackets that I'm going to be making a series on. I think there's 4 or 5, but just stay tuned because I'll be making these small videos, hopefully small in length, where I'll just talk about these things. So if that's something that interests you, make sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and stick around for more financial, let's say, financial tidbits, if you will. All right, so getting right into it, the first thing I want to talk about is how do we even know the median income that someone in the United States is making? So let's try to figure that out right now. So, median income, let's say in the United States. So we can see here that the median income, at least in 2023, for an individual in the United States is $39,982 USD. Whereas a household, I see the figure here, is 78,538 USD. So that number is well below the $60,000, let's say entry level slash early career sort of bucket that we're targeting here. You can see, as always, I have my notes here in the background, things that I can, depend on. I no longer have my phone. I had to turn my phone in. So for now, I might have to start filming more of these in the car, not in the car, in my house, because I don't have a separate device that I can read notes from. But who knows? Maybe I will in the future. But for now, let's get back into it. Let me switch back to this view right here. So let's talk about some of the responsibilities, right? Your responsibilities in this income bracket are things like covering essentials. I'm talking about your rent, food, transportation, insurance. There's a very famous psychologist that you all might know. His name is Jordan Peterson, and he was sort of talking about the happiness that you get when you're accumulating money. A lot of people will tell you that the more money you make, the happier you are. And frankly, I think that is true to some extent, but there is a limit. And I think the limit really is after having your essentials covered. I agree with Jordan Peterson when he says that pretty much after that, anything extra is just, well, extra. And it doesn't really contribute directly to your happiness. But as long as you have things like your rent covered, your food covered, your transportation covered, things, basic things like insurance covered, your basic necessities, that's going to be all the happiness you need. Because you can imagine there are people that are making less than this, living paycheck to paycheck, that can't afford the rent, that are unable to feed not only themselves, but their families. They have issues getting from point A to point B. So imagine if you have those struggles in life. Really, you just want to take care of that first before you even start thinking about making any more money beyond that. For a lot of these people, including myself, I can imagine if I was in a situation like that, once I get to the point where I can handle that, I'm going to be very happy. Now, there are people, of course, on the other side that are very rich, that I hear online saying that, people that think like me are kind of dumb and they're stupid because I haven't been on that side. And for all I know, maybe they're right. But what I do know is I am happy right now, and I do know that myself. I believe in that. So I think that's a very, let's say, good thing to know about yourself. If you believe something yourself, then don't really listen to what others have to say. Now, the good thing about this is if you're someone that struggles with budgeting, I actually have a video that you can watch. So if you've been watching my videos for any amount of time, I made a video on this called Beginner's Guide to Budgeting. Now, on this video, I talk about the different categories that go from the easiest to hardest to budgeting, right? Because a lot of people think about budgeting and they're thinking like, oh man, this is so difficult. I've never budgeted before. I'm not someone that typically likes to look at the numbers and have to calculate things. So in this video, again, I go from the easiest categories, things like dining out, from subscriptions and entertainment, groceries, until I get things that are really hard, like housing, for example. And one of the cool things that I like is I give 2 free templates. So there's one here that directly on the Google Sheet you can find. Let me just undo this because it looks like I accidentally clicked something. But anyway, on the Google Sheet, you can see there's a basic budgeting template, which gives you some sort of like fancy rows that you can enter here. You can see the updates. You can see the totals update as you start entering numbers, and I'll also give you a clear view as to where you're spending the most money. But if you want something a little more simple, you can actually just use this simple budget worksheet, and you can see in the different categories here, you can just put an item line followed by an amount, and then just do simple addition and see where you're spending in each different categories, right? So I think that's something that in this, let's say, income bracket, you have to be very familiar with. Budgeting it doesn't have to be very hard. Follow the templates, watch the video to sort of get some insights into what I have to talk about, and then hopefully from there, let me know how the budgeting goes. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about here is building your financial foundation. Okay, so you want to learn about things like budgeting, which we just talked about. You want to learn about ways of managing debt, okay, using methods like the avalanche method or the snowball method, which we'll get to in a moment. And you also want to save your first emergency fund. Now, emergency funds are something that I'm a little bit on the fence about, although to be entirely honest, I do think they're a good thing. What I do think is you have to really assess your risk tolerance and you have to see what other sources you might be able to lean on. For example, I keep a very low amount of money in my checking account because I'd rather invest all that extra money instead of having it just sitting there in an emergency fund. But I do things like if I really need the money, maybe I'll be able to pull it out of my investments. It might not be liquid right away, but it might be just the right amount of time that I can still take care of whatever it is I need to take care of. Or I might be able to lean on family in case of an emergency. I realize not everyone is in this situation, so assess your current situation, assess your risk tolerance. If you're someone that is very risk averse, you might want to have that steady, stable emergency fund that you can very quickly pull money out of and never have to worry about. Again, just assess where you are in your life and then figure out from there what it is exactly you want to do. But I think all in all, if you do go for the emergency fund route, you might want to save like 1 month of expenses, 3 months, 6 months, maybe even 12 months of expenses, depending on where you are in your life and what makes you the most comfortable. The next important thing here is a responsibility is avoiding lifestyle creep. All right. So this happened to me, and I think it happens to everyone. And here's my take on it. You go from someone like in college where you have pretty much negative net worth to making your first amount of money ever. You have a salary now. And I think it's very common, and I almost think it's necessary to have a little bit of this lifestyle creep because it gives you wisdom later on. You'll never learn that lifestyle creep is probably not a great thing unless you experience it yourself. And let me tell you, as a young 20-year-old, it's fun. It's fun to maybe make a bad purchase on a car. It's fun to maybe buy clothes that look cool, but maybe you're just gonna wear for a date, or you just want to go and impress someone, but you're probably never gonna wear it again. It's fun to make these kinds of mistakes because you learn. You're having a lot of fun because you're young, and there's an argument to be made about maybe saving and investing all your money so that way when you're older you'll have more of it to spend, but then it's like when you're older you don't have your youth. So make some mistakes, have a little bit of fun. There's probably some financial people out there watching this video just cringing at the thought of this because they're saying, what do you mean it's good to buy a terrible car? I mean, auto debt is like the worst debt that you can have. But just be smart about it. I'm not saying to go buy like a Cybertruck if you just got your first job, but maybe buy yourself, if you have a 2005 Honda Civic, buy yourself a 2020 Honda Civic. Do a little bit of an upgrade, all right? I think it's okay to make smart upgrades, even if they might cost you a little bit more than what you can afford, but just have fun. But anyway, try to avoid it as much as you can, right? After a year of, let's say, having this fun, just try not to get too much into it because at the end of the day, you are just impressing people that don't really matter, right? You're going to realize that all this you're doing is for the wrong people and not yourself. And I promise that if you can leave below your means, not only will you save more money, you'll honestly just be a lot happier. It's nice to have a more simple life, a life that's more grounded. And when you see your money going into the right places, like your emergency fund that we talked about, maybe your rent, your transportation, if you need things like this, and finally, even in your investments, you're going to feel a lot better. Okay. So let's talk about money priorities. All right. So your emergency fund, I want you to aim for about $1,000 and then around 3 to 6 months of expenses. If you can start with just $1,000, you're already way, way ahead of most people. I think there's a statistic that I read a while ago. I mean, let's see, how many people don't have 1,000 in savings? Okay. Approximately half of Americans would struggle to cover a $1,000 emergency, with a recent bank rate survey showing about 41% have enough savings for that amount. Okay, you don't want to fall into this percentage, right? A bank rate survey from early 2025 found that about 41% of Americans have enough savings to cover a 1,000% of emergency. $1,000 emergency. This means approximately 59% of people would struggle to cover a $1,000 unexpected expense. Don't be that person. Have that emergency fund at least at $1,000, and then if you can, start growing it. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Do what works right for you. If you have family to lean on, you have other types of investments, you have some other money, maybe you might want to invest more of it, but I think 3 to 6 months is a great starting point. Next thing you want to do is high interest debt payoff. When I graduated from university, I, like many others, had student loans. And frankly, I didn't really understand what student loans were at the time that I signed up for university, which is a crazy thing. This is something that at least my high school counselor didn't really do a great job of explaining. I can make the argument that I probably should have done more research on my own, but At the time, you're a senior, you're graduating, you're just excited to go to college. You'll take whatever student loan debt you want. They tell you that when you graduate, you'll have enough money to pay that off. But of course, the situation is different for everyone. There's two very important methods I want you to think about here. There's the avalanche method and there's the snowball method. The avalanche method focuses on the highest interest values first, whereas the snowball methods focuses on the smallest balances first, or smallest interest rates first. If you're someone that likes to build that momentum early on, I think snowball method is great for you. You start picking at those loans with the smallest balances first, so you just get that snowball building. You feel good about yourself. You go from having this screen that's just showing you all the different loans you have to pay. I remember my student loan portal had all the different types of loans, all with the interest percentages next to them and their balances. You go from someone having this to just having a smaller list over time. And even though you're left with the high balance ones, at least the small ones are going away. Now flip that over and maybe you want to start with the ones that have the highest interest rate first, because even though the balance might be high, you know for sure that if you pay this off, this is an immediate return on your investment. It's a percentage that you will automatically get back because you paid that off, and it's just the highest one. So every month that you're being charged interest now, that amount will go lower over time. So pick the one that works for you. You might do a little bit of both. Let's say you're paying like $500 a month towards your loans. Maybe you do $250 towards the smallest balance ones and then $250 towards the highest balance one. Maybe you just focus on one side of the spectrum. Do whatever works for you. Again, that's a lot of this whole thing, right? Whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy, whatever it is that you know can keep you the most consistent. Okay, finally, the last two money priorities here we have are your 401k. Always take the free money. If your employer offers you your 401k and there's a percentage match on this, always take the free money before investing more. I think early when I started my career, I forgot what the percentage was, but I immediately got to that percentage and I didn't put any more. I didn't increase that percentage for years, which is actually a regret that I have. Let's say I started at 5% for the match. I wish I would have increased at least by 1% every single year, even if I didn't get a raise, but just, raise a percentage, maybe lower my cost of living a little bit, try to live a little bit frugally, but at least I'm investing more. But just get the free money. There is no other investment account that you can use that will just give you free money like a 401k from your employer. So at least get to that match. And then later on, if you want to increase it so you can get your 401k match for the year, which I believe for this year was $23,500. Let's see if we can find it. So 401k match limits 2025. For 2025, there's no specific dollar limit for an employer's 401k. This is not a 401k. What am I looking? Oh, there we go. Yeah, employee contribution limit, not the employer. The employee contribution limit is $23,500 for those under 50. So of course, at some point, if you want to be able to get to that amount, you'll have to increase probably beyond the match, but you make that decision at a point where you start getting more comfortable. Just a sneak peek, by the way, that might come in your mid-career or growth phase, or it might come in your high-income professional phase. It really just depends on where you are in your life. I'm going to keep saying, but that's really what it is, okay? Finally, your last money priority should be your Roth IRA. Okay, so Roth IRA is great while your tax bracket is low because you won't pay taxes when you retire. So if you have a low tax bracket now, you can pay less on that money, right? So you give your money more time to grow. And when you pull it out in retirement, you won't have to pay taxes on that. Okay, so let's cover a little bit about what we learned on and then end with a quick summary. So the responsibilities for someone in the under 60K or at 60K income bracket. This is your entry level / early career income bracket. Covering essentials like your rent, food, transportation, and insurance. You're building your financial foundation. You're avoiding lifestyle creep. Okay, very important. Your money priorities. You're doing an emergency fund. You're paying off that high interest debt. You're looking into things like your 401k match and possibly even a Roth IRA. All right, finally, what is the mindset shift here? I want you to focus on habits, not just the dollar amount, because at this stage, learning to automate even smaller amounts can take you a very, very long way. Here's a very, let's say, good example that I have here. So I'm going to go on contribution calculator, money guy. I think it's the compound interest calculator. One of my favorite tools online, the compound interest calculator. Let's say you just graduated from college, you're in this tax bracket, not your tax bracket, this income bracket, and you're able to save just $1,000 every month. So you're starting off with zero, not $1,000 every month. That'd be crazy. We're going to assume an annual rate of return of 8%. We're contributing, what was the number? $100 a month, every month. And let's say you just graduated, so you're 22, and you plan on working to full retirement age. Now, I'm personally not very interested in the FIRE movement. Frankly, I love my job. Probably going to keep going to full retirement age. That's 67 years old, so that's 45 years if you're 22. So we're going to go to 45. We're going to enter our email here. And let's see. If you can somehow manage to save $100 a month and invest it at an annual rate of interest rate, wow, at an annual rate of return of 8%, we're looking at $527,454 by the time you retire. Okay, I just want you to really think about this. Even at a low income bracket, $100 a month, which I think it's doable. Let's even go to 50, right? Let's say you can just do 50, but you're starting at 22. It's very important. You have a lot of time on your side. Okay, $263,727. A lot of money with small contributions. So all these things I want you to think about. Again, people in the 60K or lower income bracket, this video is for you. You have your responsibilities, your money priorities, and your mindset. Let me know if this helps you out. Let me know if you're already doing these things or if some of these things you didn't even know about and you want to learn more about. Are you about to cross into the next level? If so, let me know about that too in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And now for a little bit of a ender here, a little bit of an ender. So this weekend I went to a birthday bash for my wife, had a lot of fun. I ended up going to Universal's Epic Universe, which is phenomenal, and it's did some other things with the family, which was really, really great, which is why the videos have been a little bit slower recently. I'm still going for my 30-day video challenge, so no need to worry there. I'm going to continue doing that. I recently, like I said earlier, lost my iPhone 13. I didn't lose it. I traded it in. So now I'm using this new style, which is kind of using OBS, and it's been a lot of fun, to be honest. I mean, I love the finance car videos. I love the videos in the car, but in this way, I can show you more context on the screen. And because of the continuity camera on the iPhone, I'm able to use my iPhone as a webcam, which is phenomenal. Because I thought my only option was to use this plugin, which was at least $10 a month, which is crazy. But I think this is a really cool way to engage with the audience. Let me know if you guys like this type of video and if you would like to see more of it. And whew, that was a lot because I actually tried like filming this before and didn't work out. So this was my second take. And now frankly, my throat is hurting a little bit. So I think this is a good place to end. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. And with all that being said, I will see you all next time. Take care. Later.